And elections is another one of those critical infrastructure responsibilities that I have as well. And I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it.
Yeah, so that is part of a new pitch to brand the DHS as being in some way responsible for election security. This feels like the prologue to eventually having ICE surrounding the polling station. So you can see she's got Save Act propaganda behind her, a list of all the stuff that you need identification for, whatever, that's supposed to be persuasive. I mean, yeah, you need identification to, like get your driver's license or whatever, and to, buy groceries if you're Donald Trump, you think that's a thing. And that's supposed to convince people that elections, which have never been proven to have any relevant fraud whatsoever, should be totally revamped in a way that would almost certainly benefit the Republicans. So that's obviously BS, but why would she be saying this? Well, it's because she's gonna make moves in that. It's not her role to do so. The DHS doesn't get involved in this stuff. This federal government's not supposed to get involved in this stuff. This is a state matter. That's what the Constitution says about the administration of elections. But she had other stuff to say that is arguably even more concerning in the short term. Take a look.
It's common sense that our elections should belong to the American people, that they should be the ones who get to vote, whose votes are counted, that they get one vote, not more, not less. It's common sense to make sure that foreign nationals don't vote in our elections, don't elect our leaders, and have a say in how our country runs. They don't and should not be allowed to be trampling on the voice of the American people, and will no longer allow American citizens to be disenfranchised, to have their voices suppressed by criminals, by hostile foreign actors, and by illegal aliens that shouldn't be here in this country.
Yeah, so you say a bunch of that stuff without ever once establishing that it's actually happening. That migrants are voting, that people are voting more than once. I feel like you kind of should demonstrate that that's happening before you make it much, much harder for a lot of Americans and more costly for Americans themselves to vote. And by the way, we'll get to the right people stuff and all of that. We'll get to that. And that is scary, her implying that there's the right voters and there's non-right voters. Now, she could literally just mean, I want right voters, not left voters. She could have also misspoken and meant white voters. Some people are presuming that. But in terms of like the will of the people being trampled, is it a random migrant, a fictional random migrant who is, let's remember, lazy as hell, but also will do anything to vote for some reason? That's always been strange to me. That is trampling on the rights of Americans, the voice of Americans. Or is it that a regular American has one vote and Elon Musk can spend $1/3 billion on an election? Which of those actually tramples and infringes on the voice of the American people more? And also, I loved her reference to foreign money and foreign people doing this. Yeah, do you actually want to stop foreigners from having a say in our elections? That's what she said. Well, then wouldn't it be strange if they were able to donate unlimited money to candidates and to manipulate the outcome of our election? Why are we allowing that? If we care so much about the voice of the American people, the will of the voters, then why is it that representatives from a different country can set up a PAC in America and then buy candidates? Why can they swamp entire elections if that's what you actually care about? Except that you don't. It isn't about the money. It damn sure isn't about the money. Or if you actually cared about that, you'd care just as much about American native born or Elon Musk billionaires influencing the elections. No, you don't. Again, this is baseless fear mongering to produce restrictions on voting that are not designed to and will not stop the invented issues with voting that you are ranting about, but to stop the actual problem you have with voting, which is that people do it. That's your problem. You do not want everyone voting. You want less people voting. And you know that as those numbers are cut down, they will not be cut down evenly. Some people will vote at much lower rates than others as a result of these changes. And again, if there was so much rampant fraud, why do Republicans keep winning elections? Not just Donald Trump. How did she get elected governor at one point? How the hell was Marjorie Greene elected multiple times? Colorado's got a lot of Democrats in it. Why is Lauren Boebert still in Congress if the Democrats have their fingers in these election systems? Why do they keep flooding the worst troglodytic Republicans into elected government at all levels? Isn't that strange? But anyway, I do want this to be an issue for Kristi Noem, encouraging the right people. So let's just inspire an extra round of a feud that she has with Tom Homan, as Tom Homan is asked about what she said.
What does she mean when she says electing the right leaders? That's not really immigration enforcement or DHS responsibility.
I don't know. That'd be a question for the secretary. If I had to guess, probably that only those legally eligible to vote would vote. But I have not talked to the secretary about those statements. That'd be something she'd have to answer.
I just love that, because it would be so easy for him to have just said that thing. Obviously she just means people legally allowed to vote. Instead, he adds all of this equivocation all over the place, as if to needle Jake Tapper to make this an issue for her, which I love. They really don't like each other. Now, she has actually tweeted about this, saying that people are manufacturing outrage even over the most common sense statements. No, the right people voting is not common sense. I mean, you could say, oh, it was a slip of the tongue, I should have been more specific. You cannot stand by that word choice and say everyone should understand what it is that I mean, particularly when you're standing in front of propaganda for an election suppression bill as part of an administration that has already tried to end democracy in America and is trying to do it again, both legislatively and in terms of executive orders. You don't get leeway on your language, Kristi Noem. Of all of the people in the Trump administration, you deserve it just about the least. Anyway, as a demonstration of how invented this entire thing is, the Tennessee Secretary of State did a check into the 2024 election, looking for the possibility, not the established fact, the possibility that non-citizens might have voted. And they found 42 cases where it might have happened, not where it did happen, might have happened out of 4.3 million voters, which is not literally 1 in a million, but it's damn close to 1 in a million. You could round it to 1 in a million. It did not have any effect, if any of those actually even were cases of a non-citizen voting. And you know why the Secretary of State did this investigation? Because people constantly do these investigations at all levels. They vet and recount individual elections. They do state level audits. Think tanks and nonprofits do these. It's constantly being checked. There is so much scrutiny, so much security. And that is why this is such a ridiculous anti-democratic farce. And obviously we all understand that, but we need to make sure that everyone else does too.